As of May 8th, it has been 21 days since most of you installed your packages. If your queen was out and laying eggs within 24 hours, then it has been 20 days since she laid her first eggs. Metamorphosis for a worker bee, egg to adult, is about 21 days. This weekend, you should begin seeing your first emerging adult workers, true daughters of your queen. Two big questions. Should I continue feeding syrup, and do I need a second brood box? The IEBA Hives inspection suggests no to both questions. As adults emerge, cells become available for the queen to relay. You have plenty of brood space for another week. If it appears that your bees are storing a lot of syrup, then you don't need to keep feeding them. At this point, excess storage of syrup in the brood box means fewer cells for your queen to have available for laying eggs. While you are inspecting this week, take a few minutes to watch your queen do her egg-laying business. Look for capped brood cells with feet and antennae sticking out of them as the new workers chew their way out. And look for fuzzy bees. These are your newly emerged workers taking on roles as nurse bees. For the last 21 days, your 3-pound package of 10,500 honeybees has been decreasing as workers age out or are lost to predators. Now your hives will begin their dramatic increase from 10,500 bees to 50,000 or more.
Go. All right. Last week when we inspected this hive on 5/1, we had 3.5 frames of brood and 4 frames of bees. The weight was 44 pounds last week. This week, this one was 58 pounds. I'm sorry, 53 pounds. So that's a significant weight gain. That's why we're looking through this one today real quick.
And two of the things that you'll be assessing are the need for continued sugar water and a second box?
Yes, we know at this point, this week, there's still 4 frames of bees in there. And so adding a second box to this is not necessary at this time. And it won't be next week either. You'll kind of think it should, but you can go a week because the queen is going to go back and lay back through her brood. And you can see we got a totally empty frame here. We want to have bees pulling that frame out before we start putting the second
And why are
box
there
on.
only 4 frames of bees still?
Because we put a package in there, and today or tomorrow is the first day we could have brood hatching. That will increase the number of bees, but you've got to remember that these bees have been flying and they've been dying too. So the numbers have probably gone down. Now this is frame number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 6. This is frame 6.
Yes.
And look at what they've done. This is beautiful. Frame 6, they've drawn this out, but what have they put in it? Honey, not brood.
A little bit of pollen down here, but mainly honey.
Nectar, sugar water probably.
Sugar. We've got a lot of larvae and brood here.
Look at how the honey is.
This is all eggs over here. Larvae, capped brood.
What do we got on the other side?
The other side is all larvae and eggs.
So she's moved over to frame 5 and started laying, which is beautiful.
This is all larvae and eggs out in here and here.
But we're looking at this is going to take probably 15 to 21 days for that to hatch out. So now we're looking at frame 4. Beautiful. This side over here is all capped brood. And she has laid to the very edge like she should. You have honey up here or nectar or syrup, whatever. Just, it's a perfect frame. That's what you want your frames to look like again. But look at this open area. Okay, pollen probably laid in there.
No, it's all right here is eggs and larvae.
Okay, so you got honey in all along the top, perfect. They got plenty of food.
Pollen down in here, pollen down in here. This is a perfect frame.
So right now we're counting, we've got 2 frames of brood, okay? One is eggs and larvae and the other is capped brood. We're gonna have capped brood here again. And look at here, we got a drone cell. They like to pop one of those in it once in a while to disturb you. We have a drone right there running around.
Well, there's been lots of drones.
Doing nothing.
The drones don't come from
See,
the
that's a
side.
perfect frame also. They've drawn it out to the edges, right down to the bottom. We can't ask for anything better than that.
Notice how the center brood is
Oh,
darker.
right here, hatching.
Is darker because it's older. The brood on the outside is lighter. She laid that later. And there's 2 bees emerging right here. One right here and one right here. We're going to help them out a little bit.
Oh, they don't like me disturbing.
No, they don't.
Now you can see them a little better there. See them? They'll eat their way out. The other bees kind of ignore them a little bit.
Here she comes.
They look at them. There's the head coming out. It's ready to go. Your lucky day, folks.
There she is, right there.
See her?
Right there.
Whoa, she popped. Look at all that fuzz on her. That's how you can tell you got bees hatching. And if I look around, you'll start to see cells that are eaten out, and you'll start to recognize a cell. Now, you can see we got 2 right there. Look at this
There's
cell.
another one right there.
How the sides are all chopped up. That's how they eat their way out, so you know you got hatching brood. So everybody who checks their hive tomorrow will probably be able to see some if they look close enough. So now that's frame 3 with brood. Now that frame is going to hatch out pretty quick. Probably all through the next 2 or 3 days it'll hatch out. The queen will come back through and start laying it again. Another frame of beautiful brood. Look, they've drawn it out to the edges like they should. We can't ask for a better frame than that. You got honey and pollen on it. Another frame like that. Now this was an earlier frame laid, and you see some of the gaps in here. A lot of it will have to do with where they put stores as they were first starting out. And so you'll see a little bit of that. It's not an issue at this time, because when you look at the frames over here, they were nice and solid. Our temperatures are good. Okay, look at that. Nice frame of brood right here in the middle. I've got eggs over here, it looks like.
Eggs up there. There's eggs everywhere around there.
And that's another very good frame. Now notice they haven't drawn this one to the bottom. This frame's over by the feeder. Little cooler air over there underneath the feeder. So they kind of leave that bottom alone. A little later in the summer, they'll probably draw it out.
There she is.
Big one.
See right there? Nice and long, easy for her to lay eggs.
This whole frame is eggs and larvae. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some capped in the middle, but everything around that crescent, this whole area here is all eggs and larvae.
You know, we've left her alone since we spotted her, and you see that she's rotating in a circle. They do that all the time. She's checking a cell.
She's checking a cell. She'll go in, stick her antennae down in there, make sure it's clean, ready to lay. Then she'll back up to it and lay an egg.
I would say she's probably a little on the frustrated side.
See her checking it out?
Because dang it, I already been here.
Yep.
You can see her dip her head down and look. It's great to sit and just watch your queen.
You see how she
work.
just bulldozes her way through everybody? She goes where she wants to go. Let's move her back to the middle, and then we'll put this frame back. There we go.
One thing you want to do is not reach down and touch your queen or anything like that. If you have sticky gloves, you want to be pretty clean on your fingertips or your glove or your hive tool. You don't want to have something stick to her. Okay, so we've had brood 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Are you going to call that 5 frames? Or
Well, this one here
partial
is
frames?
actually eggs on this side and this.
Brood is still eggs, larvae, and
Yep.
calf brood.
So we got 5 frames of brood on here. We know that a couple of these are going to hatch out in the next week, or a good majority of the frame will hatch out. So the queen will have plenty of room to lay. But when we looked at this frame right here, the first thing we noticed is she's not laying on it, they're boxing her out with honey. Next week, when we go in to look, we will most likely slide this frame to the outside and move this empty frame right here
To the inside.
to the inside. This hive does not need to be fed today. They're doing just fine and they're boxing in the queen, so that's something to be aware of.
We've noticed that a lot of they're waxing out in the feeder, and it's just there's no need to feed this hive.
Before you clean the feeder, make sure the queen is on one of these frames and she's not down in there.
Yep.
That's true. Always check the underside of your.
Well, last week we found a queen on the lid. So we're all ready to close this one up. You're all worried about something I heard some people talk about. You can see here pollen dropped. When we lifted up the frame and turned it to look at it, sometimes the pollen hasn't been secured inside and it will fall out. I hate to say this, but if it falls to your bottom board or anything like that, they probably will not pick it up and use it. It makes you cry when you have a frame of it that falls out. They worked really hard to get that. Did you notice we hardly had to use any smoke on it? We did it right at the beginning. It calmed them down and they stayed calm the rest of the time. Oh, we got to mark the frames. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to mark the frames that are drawn. So we're going to put 2020 on them. So we'll mark all the frames right up to here. This one is not complete. So we're looking to have at least, because remember when you pull the feeder out, you're going to end up with an extra frame that hasn't been drawn out in here. So you're looking pretty good.
Inner cover?
Okay, I can get it on. No bees on it, or we can hurt anything. There we go.
So you want to have 5B4.
Yes.
Okay. Of these 12 hives, we've only fed one. We've only filled one feeder. The others have so much honey on the frames that if we filled a feeder, they would move the syrup into the frames and plug the queen out so she wouldn't have any place to lay. So just don't fill the feeder.